Thank you for listening to another episode of the Business of Fun podcast. I'm your host, Dave Wakeman. My guest today is Dan Galpern, and he is the CEO of DanceOne. This is a great conversation. Totally fun, whole lot of really interesting ideas that come out of this. Before I talk to you about Dan, though, I want to remind you to check out my website. It's davewakeman.com. There you can get things like my newsletters. You can sign up. There's a little box or pop-up box that pops up for you. You can check out the store. You can check out old blog posts. I'm using the website as like the home of everything. So check it out, davewakeman.com. Also, I want to know who you would like to hear from. A lot of the conversations lately, because of some of the things I've been working on, had tended to go more towards strategy and branding. I'm going to bring back a lot more of the ticketing and entertainment folks. So I want to know who you'd like to hear from. So send me an email with your suggestions at dave@davewakeman.com. So back to Dan. Like I said, Dan Galpern is the CEO of DanceOne. He has a private equity background, which I got to say, when I was going into it, I was unsure of how the conversation was going to go, but it actually ended up being really awesome because a day or two before I talked to Dan, I saw an episode of the Baldwins where Hilaria and Alec learned dancing. It was great. And that helped me kind of frame this conversation. And so I really gained this like newfound respect for dancers through doing the research for this. Or maybe I always had respect for dancers and it just like kind of solidified my thinking. But we talk about what DanceOne is and what DanceOne is trying to do. Dan and the organization have a really unique vision. They have a Keep Kids Safe initiative that we talk about, which really it lines up with some of the work I do with the DC Soccer Club and some of the things around making sure that kids have a place to go so that they avoid some of the online bullying or some of the rabbit holes, misinformation, some of the bad stuff, right? Because as Dan tells me, I think at one point, you can't be sad and dancing at the same time. So it's a really great sport. We talk about the exceptionalism that's required of great dancers. We talk about the small business owners and teachers and how this, like DanceOne, impacts them. Youth enrichment, self-expression, exceptions. We talk about how dance has probably fueled the growth of TikTok, community, premium experiences, revenue. We talk about why someone who has a business background can help expand dance in the way that maybe some of these traditional dance founders did not. And it has nothing to do with being cold and callous about it. It's just a point of view. And I appreciated the way that we talked about it. I could go on about this conversation for quite some time. I think it's better if I just shut up and let you listen to my conversation with Dan Galpern on the Business of Fun. All right. I want to welcome Dan Galpern from DanceOne to the Business of Fun podcast. Dan, how are you?
Dave, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, this is going to be exciting. I am really excited to talk to you about DanceOne. I am also excited. I will let everybody know that you invited me to move back to New York City, which I'm going to try to take you up on.
Please, we need more people like you. We definitely have a lot of fun in New York City, but also we could always use another person to add to the joy.
A little flavor.
Exactly.
So you are with DanceOne, and if I'm not mistaken, you're still relatively new in the position, right? You took over from the previous CEO, and you're been tasked with growing the business, and you have an exciting take on dancing. I want to start out by asking you the question that I usually start like strategy workshops with, and I kind of teach all of my my brand management students and just people in general to always think of is like going, well, what does success look like? So what's the big goal for you and DanceOne right now?
Yeah, well, DanceOne came from an idea. Prior to taking the role as full-time CEO of the business, I was a partner for the last 16 and a half years at a private equity firm that led the creation of DanceOne, and I led that transaction. And that came from a lot of work around youth enrichment, youth sports, and frankly, the rise of the female athlete and exceptionalism being understood now that all athletes can be exceptional. And so for me, really the goal of DanceOne, and we named the company DanceOne. I mean, DanceOne didn't exist until August of 2023 because we have a common vision for the company. We have a goal, which is there is no them, there's only us. We're one community. We serve the entire dance community. We want to be welcoming to everybody, but we also want to shine a light on the exceptionalism that is in dance, and we do that through the production of over 520 events every year, reaching over 500,000 dancers between the ages of 8 and 18 who compete at our events and also come to learn at our conventions from some of the best choreographers and dancers in the world. They all train at dance studios. There are over 20,000 small businesses in this country who are run by incredible dance teachers. And those teachers are our partners in bringing the DanceOne community together. They teach and train their students, and they have traveling teams like you'd have in soccer, like you'd have in lacrosse or basketball. And those elite players on their teams travel to our events, and will travel all over the country and all over the world. And many of the best dancers on the planet today came through that system and are dancing at our events today.
Yeah, I was as I was doing research for this, I connected what you just said about the 20,000 small businesses and dance studios with something my wife made me watch, which is the Baldwins. And I saw Alec and Hilaria dancing out in the Hamptons, where you are sitting right now. So I would imagine that, or this is not me imagining. I was going to say, from what I can tell, dance is having a bit of a moment as well, right? People are becoming to more comfortable understanding like how great dance is as far as a physical activity. But I know just from like some of my research with my role on the board of the soccer club here in DC, the emotional impact and the mental health aspects. And, there's like so many different ways that dance is great, or sports in general is great. How much of that pushes with the work that you're doing?
A ton of it. I mean, I would tell you what drove me to really get excited about this opportunity building DanceOne was it just made no sense to me where the dance community was being positioned in terms of its import, both in terms of global the global activity, and in terms of its place in the creative endeavor, and its place in the entertainment community, and its place in sport. And so I look at this when I think about the areas that we are, really, what's driving what's happening today is first and foremost, dance is the number one consumed content on social media in the world. It is a language of movement. Everybody can understand it. And by the way, if you think about the best moments of your life, when you score, when a professional athlete or a Pop Warner football player scores a touchdown, what do?
They do a dance. They do a celebration.
They do their dance, not just a dance. They do their dance. They're expressing themselves. When a basketball player comes on the court, they do their dance. When a soccer player scores their goal. And so, it's really about expressing yourself and expressing the joy. So number one, dance is everywhere, and you're now seeing it, because social media, it's become so huge that, people are getting comfortable with trying different dance moves, trying to understand dance, and they're appreciating the athleticism and art and incredible difficulty of dance. So that's number one. Number two is, in terms of, the sport of dance, the athleticism of dance. It's becoming clear as people watch and see all of this content, the extraordinary athleticism, the extraordinary dedication, the extraordinary athletes, and all of us, like to watch exceptionalism. And then lastly is really the acceptance, that of the fundamental fact that as humans, when we're dancing, we're joyful. When you're dancing, you're happy. When you're dancing, you're celebrating. And so, giving people a way to do that and see that and watch that, and frankly, see kids between the ages of 8 and 18 at our events working hard and then accomplishing that. That's really the why of DanceOne.
Yeah. I, I think as you were telling me this, the one thing I thought that came to mind was that how almost every major TikTok trend is some kind of dance challenge. And it's so true. It's the other thing was we were talking before, and you were talking about there's no like sad dancing. You can't be sad. And I was thinking about it. I was like, every kind of celebration, right? It's like rite of passage includes some form of dancing and celebration. And I think it's just, to me, I think it's just wired into us as humans, as animals, that like, dance is a part of who we are. It's how, it's a way for us, I think, to connect with people. And I know that community, the community you've mentioned a little bit, but the community aspect of it seems so important to me.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say to you, what I always think about is when I was growing up, and I was an athlete growing up. My father said the same thing to me, whether it was when I was playing basketball or as a debater, or getting ready for an exam, or getting ready to do something difficult. He would say, "Do your dance, get up on the dance floor. It's your time." And so I think that concept really, when you can see it now at scale with social media and so many incredible dance programs, like Dancing with the Stars, and So You Think You Can Dance, and the like. But yes, the community is also incredibly strong. It's very supportive. It's extremely welcoming. And so that's another benefit. Everybody can dance and everybody can do their dance. And if they want to take the time and learn the specific types of dance, the why of dance, the different forms of dance. You see a great resurgence right now with ballroom dancing. I mean, we're launching a tour with Derek and Julianne Hough and Val and Jenna around a ballroom called Ovation. And people are sort of saying, well, how does ballroom dancing, which has been been a form of dance for centuries, like how is that now becoming having a resurgence? It's because people are realizing that these forms of dance not only are great workouts, they're great for healthy mind, healthy body, the mind-body connection, but they're also beautiful and fun and artistic and athletic.
Yeah. I sent a text to my neighbors. There's a group chat. I live in a cul-de-sac, and I have a couple of neighbors, like a couple of dads are really close. And I said, "Oh, what we're going to do is we're going to have an adult dance party." And they were like, "This is going to be amazing." And I told my buddy's wife, because it lives down the block. I was like, "Courtney, we're going to do an adult dance party." She's like, "That would be amazing." And I just like to see it, because I am so my wife finds it funny when I dance, because she's like going, "Oh my God, I didn't know you could dance." And so it's great. So this is like all like really good to me. But one thing I do want to ask you about, because I was looking at your background and I was looking at like kind of all the stuff we've talked about so far, and it's accessibility, right? Because I know, again, I'm laying a little bit on my experience with youth sports, and trying to keep a balance. Like it's a business you're operating, even if like in our case it's a nonprofit, in your case it's a for-profit, but you want to make it accessible to people, because it's like a top of funnel thing. A lot of your background is in premium consumer goods. Mm-hmm. How does that help you understand how to make dance accessible to people? Because I think that's like an interesting thing. I have a lot of premium experience in sports. It helps me see both sides of the coin. I'm curious how you approach it.
Yeah, well, first of all, from my background, I've focused on exceptional brands, highly technical businesses that served a very specific audience and produced the highest quality product in that space. So if you look at the brands that I've been involved with, there's a common thread there. And for me, that's what DanceOne is. I mean, when you look at the brands that we own today, in terms of dance conventions and competitions, they are delivering the best experience. They're delivering the best content. They're delivering the best platforms, best technology, best artists and choreographers. And so we start with that. We want to make sure that if people are coming to our events, that they're getting the best of the best. And and then to the point you're making, which is again why we named the company DanceOne, everyone's invited, all shapes and sizes, all backgrounds, right? The best dancers on the planet come from everywhere. It's not about, there's only so much training you can do. Training is important, but you also need to have talent. And so we make it accessible by having the DanceOne Foundation, partnering with other foundations to make sure that coming to our events, there are scholarships that are provided. We started the first year when right after we bought DanceOne, we tried something, which is we did a scholarship program for colleges where we invited colleges to come to our national events to see if they wanted to offer up scholarships to kids. They haven't done this before. We had 26 colleges show up, and a lot of scholarships were handed out. And so we also had companies come, like Royal Caribbean, who is the largest employer of dancers, in the cruise industry, and they hired dozens and dozens of dancers at our event. And so some of it is about making it accessible to be able to come to the events. And again, there's all shapes and sizes for our events in terms of what people can attend. But it's also about making it an experience where people can have a future and understand that everyone's welcome.
Yeah, no, I'm always curious because it seems a balance. Or I know Absolutely. It's not. It doesn't seem like a balance. It is a balance. And I think what people, a lot of times when I get feedback from people who are listening, they struggle with that balance. So I'm always interested when I find somebody that I can talk to that has a similar experience, kind of balancing accessibility, but also understanding like, hey, look, I'm running a business and certain aspects of it have to be, premium and profitable. To make the whole thing work.
But it's really interesting because one of the things that the industry didn't have, and neither of the two predecessor companies have before we formed DanceOne, is we've built a partnership business, right? And a partnership business is partnering with brands, authentic brands that are focused on the dancer and the dance community, where they are actually helping us by paying us for access to that community, by providing discounts and cost savings to our network. So I'll give you a good example. We partnered with Expedia. And so every dance studio that is part of the DanceOne family, every dancer, every family, they have discounts through Expedia on everything they do, whether it's DanceOne related or not. And so we want to make it easier for people to travel. We want to save them money so that they can be more intentional about where they spend their money. And if they want to spend it on dance, terrific. If they want to spend it with us, terrific. If they want to spend it on a wonderful meal with their family, terrific. So we're trying to find ways to use the platform to benefit the dancer and the community, and to keep prices down. In the past, there were only two levers. There was the cost of admission to an event, and the cost of production of that event. Right? We're adding levers to our business through our partnership business, and we also have a content business. And those are allowing us to not only amplify the message and bring people into the community who want to support dancers in the dance community, but it's also allowing us to make it more and more accessible. And we're seeing that people are not only thinking about how do I partner to get access, but how do I participate by donating to the DanceOne Foundation, donating to scholarships, making it easier for people to attend our events, because we want to make sure, like I said at the beginning, there is no them, there's only us. Yeah. If you are a serious dancer and you want to attend our events, we want to be sure that people can come.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Now, and I'm curious about this because what you've told me is that, one of the things that you've focused on is just creating new points of revenue, new streams of revenue. And this is, this is not one of my highlights, but it was in a way. I was at a ticket conference for entertainment people, and I was like, well, you just have to create new lines of revenue. You can't just be stuck in the way that things have always been. And that seems to be like you and I. Well, I was really rude about it, and I'm not proud about it because I was just kept getting the same question. What I'm trying to get to though is I want to ask you, how did you approach that? Saying look, this is the historic business model with admissions and production. How do we approach this in a way that allows us to create new opportunities in different ways to create revenue for us that allows us to fulfill our mission? Because that's a common challenge, especially
what I would say to you is, first of all, like most industries, the people that built the dance business, right, and really created the foundation that we're able to stand on today were dancers and teachers. And they were focused on being great dancers and great teachers. And by the way, they did that and still do that. And they're exceptional. I mean, if you look at our partner, Gary Pate, who founded Star Dance Alliance, right? I mean, Gary's, it's 38th year of that part of our business. I mean, he's a dancer and a dance instructor first. And yes, he's helped build, the business we have today. But they weren't focused on doing anything else because they were doing that so well, and they just enjoyed doing it. For me, when we saw the business, it was less about revenue streams. It was more about how our people, how our brands, world, class brands, global brands, how are they missing the opportunity to see and be affiliated with this level of exceptionalism, of dedication, of passion, and of talent. And so for us, that's what we focused on. It's been less about who can pay us the most or who can give us revenue. It's more of who are the partners that want to celebrate the dance community, want to be part of that community, want to use that. You can see in commercials today. I mean, if you've seen, the latest Pedro Pascal commercial with Apple, I mean, that is a dance commercial. If you watch Gap's commercials, they are dance commercials. Those are all of those are good examples of how people are using dance to market. What we want brands to do is understand we have an incredible community. Dancers, dance studios, dance teachers. They are incredibly motivated and talented, and that's a community they want to be part of. And in doing that, we create opportunities for ourselves to generate revenue. We create opportunities for our dance studio partners to create revenue, and we make it easier on the families to be able to attend the events and feel like they're being seen more broadly. And lastly, there's an amplification that happens, which is because of those brands, it allows the DanceOne butterfly effect to happen, where we're reaching more and more people with with our dancers, with our choreographers, and with our brand.
I didn't plant that answer with you either, so everybody knows. But I loved it because I always tell people that if you start out trying to monetize the thing, what's going to end up is you're going to gouge people, right? You're
Exactly.
going to end up ruining your brand, ruining your business, because the primary decision is always, how do I maximize this touch point? And that's one of the big issues that I see.
Can I jump in there for a
places.
second? Because this is
100%.
this is the most important point. When I asked people, because again, coming into a business, I found in my career, I've been very fortunate to have worked with some of the incredible brands. The thing you do first is just listen and understand they built something extraordinary, which is why we're talking to them. Be respectful of that, understand why they did that, and understand we're all humans. Their fears. What were the fears that were holding you back from doing things? Well, one of the fears was, we're going to become like NASCAR, or we're going to become this, or we're going to have all these terrible brands like pushing bad products on kids. Mm-hmm. And so my point is, which is part of one of our core values at DanceOne, is, well, we're going to be intentional. Like, these people are going to be investing in the community. They're going to be investing to make it easier for us to upgrade all of our production values, to upgrade our streaming values, to produce more content, to amplify the message. That's what they're here for. And by the way, people can see that. So the more that you actually say what you're going to do and then do it, people embrace it. And we've found the community has been really welcoming. I mean, we just did a partnership, which is just starting with Amazon Prime. They're launching a new series by the creators of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisels called Étoile. It is about two ballet studios, one in New York and one in LA. Mm-hmm. They called us. They said, we're about to launch this show. We want to do something authentic with dancers, and we want to be part of the community. We created a program for them to be able to come to our community and let people know about it. Now, the dancers are happy because this is a great reflection that there's programming that's being made about dancers, but by the way, we'll hire dancers, right? And at the same time, they're happy because their core audience is our audience. And so that, I don't look at that like a revenue moment. That is a how do we win for everybody and continue to amplify the message and frankly build their business and our business at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I agree. The way I teach people when I talk to them about it is I go, I learned early on, I helped open nightclubs all over the country. And the most important thing is if I threw a great party, I would get people in the door. And if I got people to come to my party, then I'd find tons of ways for them to pay me for the experience I was giving them that would never feel slimy or greedy, and that would only add to and enhance their enjoyment. And this is like the exact same thing it sounds like you're doing.
Yeah, but I would say to you, like, we're just, my vision of our success is that the dance studios and the dancers and their families, when they are at and experiencing something that is DanceOne, and whether that's in real life at our events, whether that's, our apparel, whether that's watching educational videos that we create, that they say to themselves, they are investing in this community, and I know where my money is going. It's going to amplify and build the DanceOne community that we're all a part of. I mean, because again, this is about investing in the future of dance. And for us, we think the future of dance is incredibly bright and global. And as a result, we're all working towards that together.
Yeah. So let me ask you about this thing, because I know one of your goals is you want to expand globally and you want to reach a much bigger audience of people. What does that look like? Because I know everybody goes, I'm going to grow, I'm going to grow, I'm going to grow. I'm curious because you seem like somebody I can ask this question to, because I'm sure you're going to have a super thoughtful answer and like a really different take on this than I imagine.
Well, first of all, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So, we did not race to grow globally. Jobs 1, 2, and 3 were delivering world-class events and experiences for our dancers in the studios, in the United States. But what we've learned is that we historically, the businesses had produced some events outside of the United States, both, obviously in North America, we were producing events in Canada and in Mexico. But we have a number of studios from all over the world that fly in to attend our events, coming from South Korea, coming from Germany, coming from the UK. And so we have hosted some events in the UK, in South Africa, and in other parts of mainland Europe. And the way we're going about it is, frankly, talking to the studios first, the local studios, to understand what do they want. Because we know that they want the experience that we provide. I mean, the type of events that we produce, the scale, the level of education, the choreographers we're bringing for kids to learn from, that's what they want. And so we're being very deliberate in our attack on that marketplace, but we're very, very focused on partnering with local partners and listening to the local community. And you should expect that as a result, over the next 24 months, we will be rolling out in Europe and in Asia.
And so how do I want to ask this? Because you talked about UK, I looked at it and I saw there's like Birmingham and London and like Edinburgh. You had done events in South Korea, Germany, and South Africa. Basically, you can go anywhere because dance is such a part of every culture. But more specifically, the question I'm asking is, you talked about in one of the interviews, I think, about investing in the brands that you have. How does that work from market to market, and how are you being intentional about that? Because it's very managing a brand across a global thing is very interesting, and especially when you have so many diverse and different markets, and you're trying to make sure that it starts with the end customer.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, we're going to make sure that the experience that we provide, in Europe and around the world is, identical, if not elevated, to what we're doing here. One of the things I found in taking businesses overseas is you learn from that experience as well. It's another petri dish. We may learn things there that we bring back to our US market that make us stronger. It's not just about expansion. It's growing to grow, in my mind, is a mistake, right? Because you're just extending yourself farther and farther. What we're doing is building that foundation. And the point that you raised, I think, is the most critical one. We know that dancers are consuming from all over the world are consuming dance content. We know they're coming to watch our streams already. We know that they want to come to our events. It's really about just making sure that we can produce that quality and that we make it accessible for them, in those marketplaces. And so that's what we're focused on today, and really excited about sort of, the future in terms of what we can accomplish globally.
Yeah, and you've talked a lot about the content, and I know some of it's short form, some of it's long form, and how that plays into making sure that like you have a great digital experience for people.
Mhm.
Um, what does that look like as far as like what kind of content are you producing? Like how are you promoting it? What is it doing to help you enforce that brand? Because I know that's a powerful touch point for people.
Yeah. So again, there is, we're focused on producing authentic content for dancers by dancers. And so the first thing we did was we hired Adam Shankman as the chief creative officer of the company. Adam was the creator and director of the Step Up franchise. Is a world class director. Obviously was a judge on So You Think You Can Dance for I think it was 7 or 8 seasons. And Adam is leading the content portion of our business because we want it to be for dancers by dancers. And so we have short form content that we're producing, which is really being done by our artists and choreographers. Those are the dance teachers. Those are some of the best and brightest and most successful dancers on the planet today. So a good example of that would be Blake McGrath. If you look in your hometown, the Washington Post, there was an article about 2 weeks ago on Blake. And Blake is a world class dancer, world class choreographer, and we're fortunate to have him as part of our DanceOne family. And Blake started dancing and filming content in airports. He would do dances in airports, and he'd do them in supermarkets, and he would do them, on the street, just like a man on the street, but dancing. And when I say dancing, beautifully, he is an incredible dancer, and it went viral, and it is viral right now. I mean, if you were to go and look, and so we have those content creators, which are very authentic, which are being short form content. And then what we are building out is the ability to tell the story. And when I say tell the story, that story relates to all of the individual stories that make up the DanceOne and dancer community. And they come from everywhere. And they're about they're stories of challenge and success. They're stories of dedication. They're stories of families. They're stories of hard work. They're stories of failure. And failure and failure and failure and then some success. Those are because you can't be great at anything without being able to get out there and really do the work. And I cannot stress this enough. And Dave, I would love for you to come to one of our events because we can talk about this amongst us. When you see 600 or 500 13 to 15-year-old kids in a room with a single person like a Blake McGrath or a Brian Friedman or on and on, standing up in front of them, teaching them, you're going to see 3 things. Number 1, there is no whistle. They don't need a whistle. They don't need to talk to anyone about their phones. No one's on their phones. And you're going to watch 500 to 600 kids make space for each other. So no one's running into each other. How they do it, I don't know. They do it subconsciously. And work for 50 minutes, take a 10-minute break, and do it again and again for 7 hours. And the reason why I say that to you is that to me is the story. And it speaks volumes about not only the talent level, because in the room it's going to blow your mind, this talent. It doesn't matter where you go. We could go to Baltimore. We could go to Alabama. We could go to DC. We could go to LA. It doesn't make a difference where we go. You are going to see that. And the reason why I say that is in that there are stories, and we think those stories should be told and amplified. And that's our content division is going to build that out.
Yeah, I think some of the most powerful content that's been created around entertainment has been some of these stories, right? Like, so you think about the Drive to Survive. I think is that the F1 thing,
Yeah.
Or there's the new Netflix thing that's about the Red Sox. All of these things. It just plays right into this. There's the incredible stories, and when you were talking about the hard work and the failure, that really stuck with me because I coach my son's soccer team. I've been coaching him since he was like a little guy, and we have a philosophy with the kids that we coach, and we've kept 15 of them together since 2nd grade, I think, is that you can make as many mistakes as you want to as long as you're trying hard. The only mistake that is unacceptable is one of lacking effort, because we want to encourage them to fail because that's how you learn. You don't necessarily learn from the successes as well as you do from like making a mistake and making an error. And in most cases, there's no fatal errors. And I like that like the kids, like, or the stories are built around showing how many times you have to, there was an Adidas commercial with Dwayne, or advertisement campaign with Dwayne Wade, who talked about how many times he fell down
Yeah.
and how many times he got up to be successful. That's like so important. And I think people just feel like they have to be perfect, but there's no such thing as perfect. You have to
But
just keep
this
going.
is such an important point.
Yeah.
If what I have seen in visiting dance studios all over the country, and most importantly for us, obviously at DanceOne events, if you're in that room, those teachers, those world-class dancers, they are motivating those students by taking breaks and talking to them about what it takes to be successful, understanding the work you need to do, understanding the failure that comes from it, understanding how to rest and recover, understanding how to support each other. I cannot express this to you enough, how proud I am when I get to go and sit in the back of one of our convention events where you have a room with 500 kids, and you have one of these incredible artists, your world-class dancers, who they're all just ecstatic to be in the room with,
Mm-hmm.
who is talking to them about life lessons, about taking care of themselves and each other, about failure. Right. So it's that coaching aspect of it that is as important as learning the moves, because it is incredibly difficult. If you see what the level of athleticism, right, you can't just come out there and do what they do. It requires an incredible amount of effort and failure. And so, that's the other part which I'm so proud of, is when you hear that level of motivation and you see the impact it's having on these kids to work hard and compete, but also support each other. To me, it says we're building something that really can have impact at scale.
Yeah, I dig it. And I think that one of the things I've learned from being a coach of kids that, like, I think is mirrored in what you were talking about, is like, you don't understand the positive impact that a good coach or a great coach can have on somebody's life. And like hearing that like this is going on for dance is like unbelievable, because I know how much it plays out in sports. And that's why I know, because we're going to start running short on time here, I want to ask you about an initiative here,
Yeah.
because I've kind of littered this conversation with references to my own experience with youth sports and kind of growing things with the soccer club. But you have DanceOne has an initiative called Keep Kids Safe. And I want to know a little bit more about that. And I want to know, how it came about and what it does for kids.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. I mean, so the Keep Kids Safe initiative we started, we named it when we acquired the business, but there'd been a lot of work that had been done and started before, around just making sure that our events are safe, right? That, you have lots of people in lots of markets. We're producing 30 and 40 events a weekend. So making sure that there's really strong security measures, making sure that there's, there's people have to have proper wristbands and all the sorts of what I call the little things, but the ways to make sure that our events are safe. But that is expanded into something that's so much more important, which is what we call healthy mind, healthy body, rest and recovery, which is we're focused obviously on keeping kids safe, keeping dancers safe, but also about making sure that they understand what good nutrition looks like, that they understand the importance of rest, they understand the importance of recovery, they understand what the physiological effect of dance is, why they feel so good when they're dancing. It's because dance is an antidepressant, right? That dance is your endorphins will kick in. Dance is an incredible way to have a mind-body connection where the neuroprocessors in your brain are firing at full cylinder. There have been studies after studies after studies of the exceptionalism of dancers in terms of their abilities, cognitive abilities that come from that. And then the reason why that's so important is part of our Keep Kids Safe initiative is we want kids to understand that being safe is about really taking care of your body, your mind, and for parents and for dance studios to understand that as a part of what we do to invest in the community, it's bring great speakers, fund research, do the work so that we can have more information, because we're creating not only world-class dancers, If you look at, the pop stars today, the actors today, if there's anyone you've seen who can dance, if you're watching the Oscars and you're saying, I didn't know Margaret Qualley could dance. We knew. She danced with us. I didn't know Zoe Saldana could dance. I didn't know Tate McRae was such a great dancer. She posted her 2019 or 2000, I think it was 2019 Dance Awards, nationals for us a couple months ago, just to remind people that she's a world-class dancer. So you have that path, but you also have the path of being a world-class business person. There are many, 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 many dancers today who've competed at a very high level, just like great soccer players, basketball players, lacrosse players, swimmers, who have become world-class executives. And so Keep It Safe is also about understanding that healthy body, healthy mind connection.
Yeah. I I love it because I think there's, however you can get kids active and involved in a community is powerful and is important. And I think it's one of those things that help us, build stronger, more resilient kids and just create a better society, a better world. And so I probably have become a bit of a nerd on these things. I love it.
Yeah, I would say to you, I've brought friends because when I did this, they're like, dance? Like what? Like I have two daughters.
Yeah.
Both of my daughters were dancers at a local studio. They were never that they didn't want to be that type of dancer. So they were like, what was it that you saw that changed how I felt about it? And I realized that talking about it wasn't really necessary and frankly wouldn't do it justice. If you see it, it speaks for itself. And that's why I think the content is so why so many people are coming to Dancing with the Stars. So many people are watching the content. And by the way, so many people are taking up dancing. It makes them feel good, but it also, they get to see something and they know that it is exceptional. And by the way, it doesn't matter what language you speak. It's the language of dance.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was, and then as you started talking about all these people coming through, I was just thinking about like all the incredible dancers at the Super Bowl and like the choreography of like Kendrick Lamar's his Super Bowl set, and I took my son, and this is like to see his first concert about 2 weeks ago now. I took him to see Tyler the Creator, and who nobody would think Tyler the Creator was an amazing dancer.
Oh yeah,
Tyler the Creator is an amazing dancer, and he was able to hold 22,000 people's attention all by himself with just him and like a DJ, right? That you was not on like not in sight, and it was amazing because he was so fluid and his ability to commit had a presence through his dance was so amazing.
Well, and I would say to you, yeah, on that. So yes, Kendrick, you watch the Super Bowl. Those dancers, many of them trained with us and worked for us.
Yeah.
You watch Lady Gaga's Abracadabra video. Yes, our dancers, right?
Yeah.
And I mean our dancers, both current like people that are actually working for us today and people that came up through the system. And so it's there's so many touch points. The beauty of what we've built is most of the choreographers for most of the names and concerts you're going to, most of the people that are actually doing that work for us today or have worked for us in the past or trained with us. When you watch that and you see that level of impact, to me, that's why I'm most focused on, number one, building on that foundation, because the foundation of the DanceOne community was strong when we got here, right? So we're not creating this from scratch. We're standing on the shoulders of incredible people who built this industry, right? But at the same time, we have the ability to take it to that next level and make them proud and shine a bigger light on dance because of what's going on right now in terms of the social media impact and all the rest. So it's very exciting. As you can tell, I'm really passionate about it because not only do I get to talk about it, but I get to work with these people. And as fun as it is to dance, working with people who are dedicating their lives to creating excellence in dance, I have to tell you, some of the most joyful, interesting, smart, creative humans I've ever come in contact in any business venture. And so it's just great to wake up every day and go at it. And that's why when you talk about the business of fun, right? I actually try to remind people that we can have fun and build a business. You can have fun and make money. You can have fun and be rewarded. You can have fun and be a successful company, right? You can do those things. They're not mutually exclusive. It's just harder, right? But if you do the work, yeah, you can. And that's why dancers are trained to do the work. And so we have a whole bunch of people doing that work.
Yeah, I that is like the lesson I try to teach everybody. I go, if you're doing this kind of stuff and you don't enjoy it, you shouldn't do it, because this should not feel like some kind of torture to you. This is like, these jobs are, to me, the greatest gift to like have, to make
It's
money off of this stuff. It's amazing.
Well, I look at it like, to be able to, I get to show my daughters. My youngest daughter is a ballroom dancer. She started dancing at 10. She's now 14 and a half. And she dances for herself. She's not a competitive dancer. She just liked it, right? But to be able to show my children and other people's children and the studios, right, and our community, that we're building something that's really extraordinary, that we're celebrating all. And if you see it, this is where I mean, honestly, I just want to make sure this point comes across, is, there's this narrative of competitive dance where people are fighting with each other, or there's some sort of like, there's some sort of like, you win, I lose. Watching dancers compete on the stage together against each other and cheering for each other at the same time while the judges are watching, because they're so proud of each other. That, to me, is, everybody wins, because just being on that stage, you're exceptional. Having people see that, you talk about how do you create better human beings, see that and say, this is what creates that. And then lastly, watching exceptionalism and having people that compete with each other for years and years, just have a common respect for each other, wherever they're from, whatever they look like, to say, you were excellent today. And by the way, you may beat me today, but you may beat me today and I may beat you tomorrow, but we're both pushing each other to be better and better and better. And to me, it's in that push that is the lesson, and also the fun. Like, you have to enjoy that. It should be joyous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I couldn't agree more. If you're not worked up about like doing this stuff, then like something's wrong, right? It's like, and you should fix it. So Dan, I could go on for a long time, but I know that you have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
How can we find you? How can people connect with you? How can people find you on the internet? How can people find DanceOne?
So first of all, if people want to learn more about DanceOne, go to dance.one. Please, if you want to reach out, you can reach out, to me directly through LinkedIn. And obviously, in terms of becoming part of our community, if there are questions, there are no bad questions. We want to be as inviting as possible. We want people to feel terrific about this incredible community, and also understand the power of dance, and in terms of the health benefits, mental and physical, but also the power of the dance community, as a business, and the power of dance to be able to drive brands forward, drive creativity forward, drive content forward. Those are all things that are really important to us. So absolutely feel free to reach out, and we'd love to continue the dialogue with you, Dave. I'm grateful for the platform. I said to you at the beginning, the business of fun. If you're not having fun with what you're doing, you should do something else. I felt that way my whole life, and I cannot be more excited about the journey that we're on with DanceOne, because we're not only building something, but we're having a blast doing it.
Well, good. Dan, thanks so much for doing this.
Absolutely, and thank you.
Let me know what you thought of my conversation with Dan by sending me an email to my name, dave@davewakeman.com. As I mentioned at the start, make sure you check out my website. It's davewakeman.com. Hit that little pop-up box and put your email address in there and get the newsletters, right? The strategy and the tickets. It's all there. There's blogs, there's a store, there's all kinds of stuff that you will find. Also, let me know who you'd like to hear from. As I mentioned, again, at the very start, some of the podcasts lately have been flowing into the strategy and branding world due to some of the workshops and classes I've been teaching. I want to kind of bring it back a little more to the ticket world and the world of entertainment, sports business, all these things. So tell me who you'd like to hear from. Again, my email, dave@davewakeman.com, and let me know. As I would like to remind you, if you love the podcast, which you're 50 minutes into this thing, I know you do, rate the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, review it, right? And share it with people. This helps me get great guests. It helps me deliver great conversations, and it helps me know that you love me. No pressure at all. Anyway, like I always say at the end of these things, thank you so much for being here. I couldn't do it without you. And until next time, take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.